Hello everybody, this is Catherine Roberts, and today I'm going to be talking about unobtrusive measures. This is the means of observing individuals' behaviors and attitudes without their knowledge. This can be useful when it isn't possible to administer a self-report scale, or if one fears that the individual may not report attitudes, and that's from the textbook. I'll be talking about unobtrusive measures, but more specifically indirect measures, which means that in my example, I did not use any formal research measurements. In a former job, I was one of the sales leads, and my DOL, or Division of Leadership, was outreach. Basically, I had to organize events for the store and network with other shops in our shopping center to provide the best customer experience for our event. I wanted to know our customer base more than just seeing them from time to time in our store. I wanted to know their attitudes as well so that I could cater to them. I found that unobtrusive measures worked best for me because I wanted the measurement of attitudes to be as natural as possible. I didn't want to go all out and hand out a survey or anything like that, since it would confuse the customers. I also know that attitudes change so frequently that a survey one week would yield different outcomes than if it were administered even a week later. What I did, I observed customers without them knowing. Some things I looked for were A, what was purchased more in a week / what the most popular products were, and B, the times people came in versus how long they stayed. I wanted to measure these aspects so I knew how to stage a boutique for our event, and I knew what time of day to schedule the event. Now that I've discussed that experience, I will go on to make some inferences. Number one, this theory works if you don't want the people you observe to know you're observing them and measuring their behaviors. Two, this theory works if you want the most natural representation of data. Three, to use unobtrusive measures in an ethical way, you should make sure that the information you're wanting to collect is public information, since you are observing people without their knowledge and don't want to invade their privacy. And four, this theory doesn't work if you're looking for specific answers to questions about attitudes and behaviors. Now that I've made these inferences, I will discuss how these can be transferred to other aspects of life. Number one, in your personal life, you'll be able to use unobtrusive measures and indirect measures when not wanting the people you're observing to know you're observing them. For example, when you are at a hangout spot and you want to observe when the less busy times are, or another example, when hanging out with a friend or family member and finding out what artists they like the most by observing their playlist preferences. Number two, if you're looking for a very natural representation of data. So examples, you don't want to ask people when their favorite time to come to your favorite hangout spot is, or you know that if you ask your family or friends who their favorite song artist is, they'll change their minds depending on how they feel at the moment. Number three, making sure the data you're collecting is public information. Examples are observing the trends of crowds in a restaurant or coffee shop is public information. Knowing your friends and family's favorite artists is not an invasion of their privacy. And lastly, number four, this theory won't work if you're looking for specifics. So if you're looking for specific answers to why an individual comes into a restaurant or coffee shop, like how they feel about the atmosphere of the restaurant, or why do they come there to socialize, study, etc. Or if you're looking for specifics on why a certain artist in is your family or friend's favorite. So in conclusion, the way that the text describes unobtrusive measures helps us understand the method of research and how it can be useful when it isn't possible to administer a self-report scale, or if one fears that the individual may not report attitudes. We can appreciate this level of measurement when we want the most natural representation of data and we don't want the people we observe to know we're observing them. Now that we know some ways on how to use this method in our personal lives, we can be aware of the ways we gather information from the situations that we're in. Thanks.